Welcome, welcome to Google Ads tag still running. It could be consent. Before we dive in, just a minute about who I am. I'm Manisha Mistry. I'm an instructor at measurementmarketing.io. As an instructor at measurementmarketing.io, I get the chance to work with our dedicated measurement management clients. I work actively with our clients and members to help them on their questions, to help them with their measurement strategy. I love BigQuery. I love Analytics Canvas. I love Looker Studio. I love a good puzzle to solve. So you got any of those, hit me up. Alrighty. With any one of our videos, we want to remember one thing. As you are watching this, grab one thing. Go ride the bike and then circle back and grab another one thing. Alrighty, let's dive into Google Ads still running. It could be consent. Let's start. Alrighty, here we are in Google Tag Manager. We have just configured our purchase tag, our Google Ads purchase tag. We have it all ready to go. We have it firing when we want. We're like, okay, we're ready to go. We just need to TBV, trust but verify it fires. So we fire up our preview. We take the behavior that's supposed to fire a purchase. We come on into Tag Assistant. We find the point in time where it's supposed to fire. We come see it, and we're looking for that word succeeded, and it says still running. Chances are, if you're in GTM, you've had this happen, especially with setting up Google Ads. Now, there are many reasons this can happen. And two of the giants in the space, Analytics Mania and Simo Ahava, have great articles that kind of go through many different reasons why this would happen. The one reason that has popped up recently why you still see this still running is if you have consent implemented. Now, what is consent and what are the different modes of consent we cover in another video, which we will link below in the description. So to understand the different modes of consent and what is consent, we recommend you go watch that. Once you have that, you need to kind of pay attention to your Google Ads tags still running, because if you see this, you may be like, oh my God, did I set something up wrong? But this is giving you some tips and tricks of how to check if consent is impacting your Google Ads tags, especially when you see this still running. So the minute you see this still running, let's say you have your purchase tag and you see this still running, what do you do first? Well, one of the things you want to look for is consent. So you come to the point in time where your tag is supposed to fire, which for us happens to be link click. There's tags, variables, data layer, consent. Click on consent, right? Take a look at what the consent state is for the various different types of consent that users can grant. There are currently 4: ad storage, analytic storage, add user data, and add personalization. Okay. Based on this, Google adjusts its functionality on what information it sends to Google Ads and what information it sends to Google Analytics 4. In this case, something you may have caught an eye on is at this point in time, when this tag is supposed to fire, the ad storage consent is denied on default, it's denied on update, and it's denied on page, meaning that as a user of this site, I have clearly indicated that I do not consent to being measured. So when the tag fires for Google Ads, it will send over non-identifiable information, and that is what's causing this still running. Basically, Google Ads is not getting everything it's supposed to get, and it's saying it's still running. Truth be told, there's not much you can do to change this. This is default behavior based on the consent status the user has selected. Now, let's go through the funnel again, and let's change the consent status to accepted and kind of walk through that scenario. So I'm going to come here. I'm just going to use this Chrome extension. It's called Cookie Editor in case you want it. If you're working in consent, it's super helpful. It just allows you to delete your cookies so you can fire consent banners again. I'm going to close out this. I'm going to close out this, and I'm going to close out our preview, and I'm going to come back into Tag Manager, and we're going to fire up preview again. So in the last case, we denied consent. We did not allow ourselves to be measured in any shape or form. Okay. In this case, we're going to connect to the site. Okay, so last time we denied consent. This time we're going to accept consent. So we're coming in here. We're just making sure everything connects. Make sure we get a connection here, and make sure we get a banner to pop here. Give us a second. Here we got that banner. So we have our cookie bot banner popping, asking us for consent. We see ourselves loading. We see that at this time, if I pick any of these events, at this point in time, at this scroll depth, if I go consent, my consent's denied. I am now going to say, yep, I'm going to allow consent. Okay, so at this time, if I come back in Tag Assistant, I'm going to kind of walk through and see, I see cookie consent updated. So if I click on that, if I clicked, it quickly went from, hey, you were denied originally, now you're granted. Okay, now let's go fire our Google Ads purchase tag again. So I'm going to click on the button that's going to cause the behavior to make it fire. I'm going to come back into Tag Assistant. Now this is where you kind of need to take a breath, because I'll click on link click, and sometimes if you go back to tags, it will show still running. Just give it a minute. I've totally been there, and we've all been there, and we've all kind of had this discussion. See, and it flipped that live. You kind of saw that. It was like succeeded. Now it's succeeded. Why did it say succeeded this time compared to last time? So I'm going to go back to consent. And as you can see at this time, ad storage is granted, meaning that I am saying, yes, Google, you can send identifiable information over to Google Ads so that it can then, do its thing, right? So this is where it's succeeded. Now, let's walk through another scenario. So I'm actually going to close this out, and I'm going to do the cookie thing again. And if you're, like I said, if you are testing, consent, this happens to be a super extension to have. Okay, so closing that off, closing this off, coming in here, we're going to go back into preview. Alrighty, we're going to bring back up the preview. And this time, we're going to do something a little different. Just waiting for that banner to pop. There we go. Okay, so this time we're going to allow analytics, but we're going to turn off marketing and I'm going to turn off marketing. I'm going to allow analytics, and I'm going to not allow preferences. So the only one we're going to allow is basically analytics, which is Google Analytics. So I'm going to say allow selection this time. Okay, so let's first TBV. The right consent was updated. So at container loaded, everything was denied. At cookie consent updated, you will see that analytics storage is allowed, but ad storage is not. What do you think is going to happen? Okay, so I'm going to do that behavior again. That's going to cause that purchase tag to fire. Remember, I am telling Google, right here I'm telling Google, you can collect analytics information, but you cannot use any identifiable ad storage. So I'm going to go back to that point in time when the button was clicked, tags. And as you can see, this time it's still running. Why? Because at this point in time, I have told Google that not allowing ad storage, not allowing you to store any cookies related to advertising, and in that case, Google Ads. So when you do see cases where you see the tag still running and you're spinning and you've tried different things, it is super helpful to check your consent states. Check if ad storage is declined. If it's declined, it's most likely consent that is blocking GTM and Google from sending the identifiable information, the cookies, over to Google Ads so that Google Ads can say, yes, I got it, right? In that case, the still running is valid and just the way it is with consent. So it's super helpful to be aware of that and know that, especially if you have this still running. As mentioned earlier, we do have two giants in the space who have great blogs on this as well. So recommend, if you are dealing with this, to give that a read, and also to try and check your consent when you are setting up Google Ads. Alrighty, what was your one thing? Was it that the consent state can impact your tag's firing status? That's definitely something we all learned, and then we all have to work with and add to our processes when we are implementing tags. If you found this content helpful and want to stay tuned for future content, hit the subscribe button now. We have some great stuff coming for you. Alrighty, as always, we want to remember our measurement marketing framework. The framework helps us go from marketing in the blind to marketing where you can reliably grow revenue and profit. When it comes to setting up Google Ads tags, we'll be doing that in the build so that we can inform platforms that the actions were taken. Now, if you want to join the Measurement Marketing Academy toolbox where you can get some free tools, and also look at joining our academy, which is our flagship product where you can ask instructors like myself and Julie live questions, go to measure.tips/getacademy. So there you have it. That is Google Ads tag still running. It could be consent.